What if the Industrial Revolution happened 2,000 years ago? Imagine Roman legions, not with swords and shields, but with steam-powered tanks. Picture Roman cargo ships, not powered by oars, but by chugging steam engines crossing the Atlantic. It sounds like science fiction, right? But the crazy thing is, it almost happened. The Romans had the brains. They had the resources. They even had the basic blueprints for steam power. So why did they stop? Why did the most powerful empire in the world never take that final leap into an industrial age? The answer is both simple and shocking, and it has everything to do with a dark secret at the heart of their society. Stick with me because this story reveals a paradox that echoes even today. Let's travel back to the 1st century AD. The Roman Empire is at its peak. Its cities are marvels of engineering. They have aqueducts that carry water for hundreds of miles, massive arenas like the Colosseum, and a network of roads that connects an empire stretching from Britain to the Middle East. Roman engineers were geniuses. They mastered concrete, built incredible structures, and understood complex principles of physics and mechanics. In the city of Alexandria, a brilliant inventor named Hero was playing with something revolutionary. He created a device called an aeolipile. It was a simple metal sphere mounted on a pivot. When you filled it with water and heated it, steam would shoot out of 2 bent nozzles, causing the sphere to spin rapidly. Sound familiar? That's right. It was a basic steam engine. A reaction turbine. The fundamental principle that would power the Industrial Revolution was right there, spinning away in a workshop in Roman Egypt. Hero saw it as a clever toy, a temple marvel to wow the crowds. He never imagined it could power a factory or a vehicle. Why not? Why didn't anyone see the incredible potential? To understand this, we need to look at the Roman economy. What was the fuel that powered this massive empire? It wasn't coal or steam, it was people. Specifically, it was slaves. The Roman war machine was constantly conquering new lands, and with every victory came a flood of captives. Millions of them. These slaves were the empire's disposable workforce. They worked the mines, pulling silver and gold from the earth. They toiled on massive farms called latifundia, growing the grain that fed the cities. They rowed the galleys, built the roads, and served in every wealthy household. And here's the crucial point. They were incredibly cheap. So cheap, in fact, that it was more cost-effective for a wealthy landowner to work a slave to death and simply buy a new one than it was to invest in their well-being. Think about that for a second. Human life was the most expendable commodity in the Roman world. Now, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a Roman business owner. You own a large quarry and you need to get massive blocks of stone out of the ground. You have 2 options. Option 1, you can use hundreds of slaves. They will use brute force, hammers, and levers. It's slow, dangerous work. Many will die. But slaves are cheap and easily replaced. Option 2, you could try to develop a machine. Maybe a steam-powered crane or a rock-cutting device. This would be incredibly expensive. You'd need to hire a skilled engineer, find rare metals, and spend years on research and development with no guarantee of success. Which option would you choose? For any rational Roman, the choice was obvious. Why spend a fortune trying to invent a labor-saving machine when you have an almost unlimited supply of dirt-cheap labor? Slaves made innovation unnecessary. They were the muscle that powered the empire, and as long as the supply of slaves kept flowing, there was simply no economic incentive to find a mechanical replacement. This created a powerful feedback loop. The empire's military expansion provided slaves. The slaves provided cheap labor. The cheap labor killed the demand for technology. And the lack of technological advancement meant the empire remained dependent on manual labor. It was a trap, and the Romans walked right into it. It wasn't just about steam power. The same logic applied to everything. Think about mass production. We see glimpses of it in Roman pottery, with workshops creating standardized designs. But they never developed a true assembly line. Why? Because it was easier to just have more slaves sitting at more pottery wheels. The Romans invented a type of mechanical grain harvester, the vallus, which could have revolutionized agriculture. But it was barely used. Wealthy landowners preferred to use huge gangs of slaves to harvest their vast fields by hand. It was cheaper and required less upfront investment. This economic structure also shaped the mindset of the Roman elite. The wealthy and educated class, the ones with the time and money to fund new inventions, saw manual labor as beneath them. It was work for slaves. Their intellectual energy was focused on politics, law, literature, and philosophy, not on practical things like engineering and manufacturing. To them, inventing a better way to weave cloth or grind grain was simply not a noble pursuit. The inventor Hero of Alexandria was seen as an entertainer, not a revolutionary. His steam engine was a novelty, not the key to a new world. So the Roman Empire, for all its might and brilliance, remained stuck. It had the scientific knowledge. It had the engineering skill. But it lacked the most important ingredient for an industrial revolution: the economic need. The abundance of cheap human capital, in the form of slaves, acted as a massive brake on progress. It was a paradox. The very thing that made the empire so powerful, its ability to conquer and enslave, was also the thing that prevented it from evolving. As the empire began to decline, the supply of new slaves from conquests dried up. Suddenly, labor wasn't so cheap anymore. You might think this would have been the moment for innovation to finally take off. But it was too late. The economic and social systems were already broken. The empire was collapsing under its own weight, plagued by political instability, invasions, and economic crisis. The window of opportunity had closed. The steam engine would have to wait another 1600 years to be rediscovered in a world that was desperate for a new source of power. The story of Rome's missed industrial revolution is a powerful lesson. It shows us that technology doesn't just appear on its own. It arises from specific social and economic needs. For the Romans, the need wasn't there. Their reliance on slavery created a technological dead end. It's a sobering reminder that a society's moral choices can have profound and lasting consequences, shaping its destiny in ways it can't even imagine. It proves that having a surplus of cheap labor can sometimes be a curse, not a blessing, paralyzing innovation and holding back the future.